Sumer, the Aztec Empire, and Norse Scandinavia never met, separated by thousands of miles and, in some cases, thousands of years. And yet each one built a specific place of reverence for a god who ruled death, carried hidden knowledge, and demanded something that wasn't quite called worship. That's not a coincidence. Or at least, it shouldn't be easy to call it one. What were they all afraid of? Let me start with Sumer, because that's where the written record begins, and the written record is already too specific to ignore. Around 2500 BCE, Sumerian scribes were pressing cuneiform into clay tablets describing Nergal, god of plague, god of war, lord of the underworld. His iconography wasn't abstract. He carried a lion-headed mace, a weapon, not a scepter, and his association with the sun wasn't the life-giving dawn that most solar gods claimed. Nergal owned the midsummer sun, the killing sun, the one that desiccates crops and spreads disease. The Sumerians looked at the most powerful force in their sky and decided part of it belonged to the god of death. That's a specific theological choice. It tells you something about what they thought power actually was. Move the map west to Egypt. Set, god of chaos, storms, and the desert, is the one most people remember as the villain of the Osiris myth. But here's what that framing misses. Set was never fully suppressed. During the 19th and 20th dynasties, roughly 1295 to 1069 BCE, Set worship didn't just survive, it peaked. Pharaohs took his name into their own. Seti, Base, Seti, Siku. The state didn't eliminate the god of chaos. The state adopted him. And what did Set govern beyond chaos? Hidden knowledge, the kind of knowledge that unmade things. The Egyptians, who built more lasting monuments than almost any culture in history, apparently decided you couldn't afford to ignore the god who knew how to unmake them. Now, pivot east, further east than most people follow this thread. The Rig Veda, composed somewhere between 1500 and 1200 BCE, describes Rudra long before the more familiar Shiva consolidates those attributes. Rudra is the howler, the storm bringer. He is explicitly called both the destroyer and the one who holds remedies. Medical knowledge, hidden knowledge, the kind you'd only need if something had gone terribly wrong. He is feared and propitiated in the same breath. The Vedic priests didn't pray to Rudra the way they prayed to Agni or Indra. They prayed to him the way you'd speak carefully around someone who could hear everything and forgave nothing. 3 civilizations, 3 gods, and when you lay the attributes side by side, the overlap is too precise to be comfortable. All 3 govern death. All 3 are associated with a category of knowledge that ordinary people weren't supposed to access. Nergal's dominion over the boundary between living and dead, Set's mastery of the forces that unmake order, Rudra's hidden remedies that implied a hidden understanding of destruction itself, and all 3 demanded something that functioned like worship without ever being called that cleanly. Propitiation. Appeasement. The ritual acknowledgement that this force existed and was watching. The academic explanation is cultural diffusion, ideas traveling trade routes, shared human psychology producing similar symbols. It's a reasonable first answer, and it deserves a fair hearing. Sumer and the Vedic tradition do share plausible contact corridors through ancient Persia and the Indus Valley. But the timing doesn't hold up the way diffusion requires. Rudra appears in texts that predate the peak of Sumerian influence on those eastern corridors. The iconographic matches are too specific. The lion, the midsummer death sun, the hidden knowledge, to arrive independently through vague cultural osmosis and land this precisely. Here's what I want you to sit with for a moment. Does it feel like a coincidence to you that every civilization that built something lasting also built a temple to the thing that could unmake it? Not a monument to victory, a dedicated place of reverence for the force of destruction itself. Because here's where this gets harder to explain away. Sumer, Egypt, and the Vedic world at least share a hemisphere. They exist on connected landmasses with, however imperfect, the theoretical possibility of contact. But the same archetype doesn't stay on that side of the world. Set, Nergal, Rudra, 3 gods, 3 civilizations that never met. And all 3 demanded the same kind of fearful reverence for hidden, destructive knowledge. Which of these 3 feels most unsettling to you? Drop your answer in the comments below, because the hemisphere explanation is about to stop working entirely. Tezcatlipoca, the smoking mirror. His worship traces back to at least 1000 BCE among the Olmec and Maya, long before the Aztecs absorbed and amplified his cult when they founded Tenochtitlan in 1325 CE. That's a 3,000-year lineage for a single deity, which already tells you something. Ideas that survive 3,000 years of political upheaval, empire collapse, and cultural replacement are not surviving by accident. They're surviving because they're doing something essential. Look at what this god actually was. Tezcatlipoca's associations span the night sky, hurricanes, the north, obsidian, hostility, discord, rulership, divination, temptation, jaguars, sorcery, and conflict. That is not the portfolio of a villain. That is the portfolio of something that holds the whole structure together from underneath. He was an invisible and omnipotent creator god, patron deity of warriors, and as the bringer of both good and evil, the very embodiment of change through conflict. The Aztecs didn't worship him the way you worship a benefactor. Those who revered the god carried the epithet Tlacoan, meaning, "We are his slaves." That is the language of people who understood they had no leverage. You don't call yourself a slave to a god you think you can negotiate with. And the mirror itself. Tezcatlipoca translates from Nahuatl as smoking mirror, alluding to his connection to obsidian, the material from which mirrors were made in Mesoamerica, used for shamanic rituals and prophecy. The mirror didn't show you the world as it was. It showed you what was hidden behind it. The Aztecs built an entire theology around a god whose defining object was a tool for seeing what shouldn't be seen. Now, hold that image, the hidden face, the knowledge behind the surface, and move north and east across an ocean that no one in Mesoamerica ever crossed, to Scandinavia, to Odin. Not Odin as the wise grandfather figure popular culture tends to reach for. The Prose Edda, compiled around 1220 CE by the Icelandic scholar Snorri Sturluson, though the oral traditions it recorded are far older than that, describes something considerably less comfortable. One of Odin's most famous acts involves hanging himself from Yggdrasil, the world tree, not as a display of physical endurance, but as a spiritual endeavor to gain esoteric knowledge. He wounded himself with a spear. He hung for 9 nights. The knowledge he pulled out of that ordeal was the runes. And unlike the Latin alphabet, which is essentially utilitarian, the runes are symbols of some of the most powerful forces in the cosmos. The word itself across Germanic languages means both letter and secret, or mystery. This is the same structure: hidden knowledge, accessed through sacrifice, held by a god the other gods do not fully control. Odin foresaw Ragnarok, the death of the gods, his own slaying by the wolf Fenrir, and the rebirth of the world beyond the flames. He knew the end was coming. He pursued the knowledge anyway. That is not a god of order. That is a god who understands something about order that the other gods are not equipped to face. Now, lay all 4 of them side by side: Nergal, Set, Rudra, Tezcatlipoca, Odin, Sumerian, Egyptian, Vedic, Mesoamerican, Norse, separated by oceans and millennia, with no plausible contact corridor between them. Mesoamerica and Scandinavia share nothing in the archaeological record that would suggest transmission of ideas. And yet every single one of these traditions describes the same figure, the one who existed before order was established, who was not defeated but accommodated, who holds knowledge the other gods cannot access, and who demands something that functions like reverence without ever being called comfortable. The fringe explanation, a single lost civilization that seeded all of them, is worth naming honestly and then setting aside. The evidence doesn't support it. The timelines don't align. The iconography diverges too much in its surface forms, and positing one origin culture requires ignoring how independently these traditions developed their own internal logic. That's not the claim being made here. The more uncomfortable possibility is this: these cultures weren't describing the same god because they shared a source. They were describing the same thing because they had all encountered the same problem. The recognition that destruction is not the opposite of order. It is its precondition. That the forces which unmake a civilization are not external enemies to be defeated. They are structural. They are built into the foundation. And every civilization that forgot that got reminded. Here's what makes that difficult to dismiss and walk away from. As of 2025 and 2026, archaeologists working at Göbekli Tepe dated to at least 9600 BCE, which predates every civilization named in this script by thousands of years, predates writing itself, are still finding carved iconography that matches this same archetype. Predatory figures, hidden knowledge symbols, the imagery of something that watches from beneath order, not above it. Carved into stone by people who had no writing, no cities, no institutional religion as we understand it, but who apparently felt strongly enough about this particular idea to spend decades cutting it into rock. I don't know what that means. I'm not going to pretend I do. But I noticed that the one attribute every version of this god shares, across every ocean, every millennium, every language, is that he is never fully gone. He is accommodated. He is propitiated. He is given his mirror, his mace, his runes, his sacrificial year. And the civilizations that did that built a dedicated place for the force of their own undoing, they lasted. The ones that didn't are the ones we study in ruins. Subscribe if that pattern bothers you as much as it bothers me. Let me know in the comments what you would like to see next.